All right, my name is JC, and I have the honor of representing the South Carolina Schools Network with Wholespire. Our mission is to identify and promote healthy eating and active living strategies in South Carolina public schools that empower key stakeholders and encourage collaboration among those seeking to improve health, student health, and academic achievement.
Thank you, JC, for kicking us off this morning. As always, my name is Erica Ayers. I'm the school wellness consultant with the DPH Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Obesity Prevention section. And I also serve as the executive director for the South Carolina Governor's Council on Physical Fitness. The mission of the Governor's Council on Physical Fitness is to serve the health and wellness of all South Carolinians through the advancement of physical activity. And for several years now, we've been doing that jointly with the Schools Network. An example of our collaboration has been this webinar series. We've been going strong since the spring of 22, I believe. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. If this is not your first time joining us, thank you for coming back. The purpose in our webinar series is to enhance the collaboration between schools and communities using the whole school, whole community, whole child model as a framework to support students' health as well as their academic success. Today, as part of that whole school, whole community, whole model framework, we're going to be focusing on nutrition, environment, and services. And before we really kick off this webinar and introduce Lara to y'all, we first want to figure out who y'all are. So if you wouldn't mind participating in our poll for today.
We are excited to learn from Lara Buss about relationship building in pursuit of feeding a need in our community. A little about Lara. In 2018, Lara moved to Bamberg, South Carolina for love. In her new role at a nonprofit, one of her responsibilities includes FoodShare Bamberg, which serves Bamberg, Barnwell, Orangeburg, and Allendale counties, as well as Southeastern Housing and Community Development and South Carolina Regional Housing Authority. With a focus on developing relationships in the community, FoodShare Bamberg has grown to include 11 school partner sites. FoodShare Bamberg is blessed to be powered by Southeastern Housing and Community Development in partnership with the City of Bamberg and to have a loyal team of volunteers to help with FoodShare Bamberg. Laura believes the volunteers at the FoodShare Bamberg packing site and at the partner sites are the foundation of FoodShare Bamberg's success. And with that, we welcome Lara.
Hi, I'm Lara Buss, and I'm really looking forward to this. I'm a big believer in the ability to find a way to get something done if you really want to do it. And so I've been invited today to talk about this. I'll talk a little bit about myself just as a background, and then we'll move ahead to some of the stories of what have happened, and then more of a toolkit to leave with. So I am Lara Buss. I am the Community Engagement Program Manager at Southeastern Housing and Community Development. And that is indeed a mouthful. One of my responsibilities is to manage the Bamberg FoodShare Bamberg Hub. When you think of FoodShare Bamberg, think of the FoodShare boxes, think of a fresh produce box that's like a trip to the farmer's market. They were created originally because a lot of people can't get to the farmer's market. And so they were looking for ways to make it affordable for people to be able to get fresh fruit and vegetables. So at FoodShare Bamberg, we pack every 2 weeks. We have 30 to 40 volunteers that come over Wednesday and Thursday. Some of them come both days, and we absolutely could not do this without our volunteers. This is very much a volunteer-driven experience. We have at FoodShare Bamberg 3 drivers and 3 vans. Southeastern Housing is a nonprofit, and the South Carolina Regional Housing Authority is the federal housing side. And with all of that behind us, we're able to deliver to 9 counties, 45 partner sites that include the 11 schools, 16 community partner sites, and then inside of that number as well, we have 29 housing property partner sites. And this June, we are approaching our 5-year anniversary, and we are also approaching 75,000 boxes that have been packed at FoodShare Bamberg inside of 5. Well, at that point, we're getting close to 75,000 now, so we'll soon know what the grand total is. But we're really impressed by that because it is so volunteer driven, and it's really incredible to have the community come around and support us that way. A lot of those volunteers we'll talk about later being students. And regarding conversation today, I did some math, and we're approaching 250,000, 250,000 pounds of fresh fruit and vegetables that have gone to the schools in the time that FoodShare has been open, FoodShare Bamberg. And that's through boxes, that's through big distributions, that's through the schools being partner sites. It's through different other avenues that I'll talk about during our talk today. Next slide. Now, this picture is about what I did before I moved here. So, like she said, I moved here for love. In 2013, I met Alan Sunday on Match.com and went really well. So, the summer of 2014, the boys and I came up to stay in Bamberg for the summer. So, I spent 25 years teaching art and French in Savannah. And that first summer when we got here, we felt sort of lost because we were used to volunteering at vacation Bible schools and summer art camps and summer theater camps. And I grew up in a small town, so I knew better than to just say, hey, we're here. We'd love to do some stuff with the kids around here, because that would not have gone well. So the next summer, 2015, I decided on a Wednesday to write a letter to the mayor that included my resume and an offer that the boys and I would love to donate our time and materials to the kids of Bamberg to do art, whatever that might mean. The next day was a Thursday, and the mayor called me to come in for a meeting, and I didn't know then that he is married to a 6th grade teacher at Richard Carroll. This is the elementary school here in Bamberg, and that they'd called the principal and they met, and then they called me, and this all happened on Thursday. So he got the letter, he called me. Well, I guess he called his wife first, and then he called me, and then they went and talked to the principal. Then they called me and asked me to come in, and I said, great. So I went in to talk to them, and they were doing the summer reading camp at Richard Carroll. And so their theme that year was Japan. And so they said, well, what do you have in mind? And I said, well, Japan, we could do you have a kiln? Yes. So that's great. We can do ceramics. So then I said, well, how about because I'm assuming, of course, now that I don't know this, because I don't know the skill set of these kids. I just know they're young elementary. And so I said, well, how about koi fish? And that's the picture that you see there with Nathan. And so my idea was, if you just had some clay and you had zero experience, you could create a face, you could pull fins, you could pull a tail, and then we carved out a channel in the back of the fish and filled it with glass. And then when we fired it with the glaze, it looked like the koi fish was swimming in water. So that was a total hit. It was a one piece of clay, pull. And then there were about 40 students in that camp that summer, and the teachers made the fish too as well. So we ended up with same project, 40 different fish. And so what's important about this slide is that this is where the community relationships started to build. And I believe that the success that we've had, and when I say me, I'm always including, in this part, this is how I got my initial, but FoodShare in general, the way that all of these relationships get built are because you just already love something, and then you find I ended up loving it and going into the school. So the principal at the time was Stacy Walter, and the assistant principal was Denise Miller. Later, Denise went to the middle school to be a principal, and Jonathan Goodman became the assistant principal. And so each summer there was a theme. The first year was Japan. And then after, they had the Leader in Me, the 7 Habits of Good Leaders, was very very prominent in schools at that time, and may still be, but I know that for sure back then. So they had a bunch of well cover rocks, And they asked if the boys and I would collaborate with the school to do Leader in Me rocks. So the first summer after we did the koi fish, the picture all the way on the right is of me and my son Trevor. And that's an example of one of the rocks that we did. So while I'm building these relationships by getting to do something that we really love to do, with the kids doing the art, we wanted to, when they asked us to do something, we were happy to say yes, because it's something we knew we could do that needed to be done. We thought it was a neat and creative way for that school to try to express the 7 habits. And those rocks were lining the carpool drive. So that was just really a really neat way to give back, with them giving us the opportunity to get to work with the kids. And then the second year, the theme was animals. So to sort of give back for that one, we decided to, we picked those three. It's a zebra and what they are pinch pots with melted glass, and then the animals that they did. So it's a snake in a sort of a swamp, a zebra in the grass, and then these dolphins with fabulous eyelashes in water. And so we took three of those. Those are the three pieces that we took to the state fair. And so we drove up from Savannah and took over the responsibility of taking these three pieces to the state fair. So that's another collaboration that we're building. And then that year, we also started the integration of an exit show. So like if you're an art major, or if you've done anything like that, you do an exit show when you're finished with an important class, or sometimes at the end. Every school does it a little differently. But we started an exit show for our students at summer reading camp. And that was the beginning of the integration of the art into the summer reading program. Then the third year was space. So I brought up my 2 wheels and taught the kids how to throw bowls. And we also did mosaics with black grout so that they could get the idea of working with the mosaics, but also to be able to try something new that they might not be able to do during the normal class day, because we had that opportunity in the summer. And trying to give them something, kind of a fun place, still on theme with the summer camp, but a place to come and relax in the middle of the day. So we did that. And then the mosaics were great. And so the principal said, how would you feel about making 7 of those big concrete stepping stones? And with the 7 habits. So the kids and I also made those, and of course we set the molds and everything. So the kids got the experience to not only make their own piece, but then now they're seeing the pieces that were made that are on a rock walk going up to the front of the school. So that was another layer of collaboration. And again, we're doing the exit shows. So this is what I did in the schools before I moved here. Every summer I came up. I'm still teaching art and French in Savannah, and so happy to get to spend time with the kids in the summertime at the school. Next slide, please. Now, this says Southeastern Housing and Community Development and the Bamberg County Health Coalition, which is now called the Bamberg County Healing Partners. So my 4th summer at the school, we were doing superheroes, and we collaborated to make murals for the teachers. That was what the big picture was in the back. And my kids and I were really just doing what we love to do. We were volunteering, doing what we love to do, art, camps, kids. And every summer there was a teacher there named Lisa Thomas, and she is a 3rd grade teacher at Richard Carroll, and she came to me the last day of camp on that 4th year in 2018. Now I've already left my job in Savannah. I know I'm moving up. My youngest is going to USC. He's a freshman, so now they're all out of the art school that they got into in Savannah Arts. So now we're moving up because the youngest has graduated. He's going to USC. So now I'm moving up permanently the summer of summer 18. And so I thought I was going to be an art teacher, but every single one of those doors closed, mostly based on the fact that my Georgia certification, anyway, that's a whole different conversation, but all those doors were closed. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And that was the last day of camp. And I was just waiting to see what was going to happen, not expecting Lisa Thomas to come in at the end of the last day of camp after the exit show. And she said she'd been talking to her husband. She said, he's the executive director of Southeastern Housing and Community Development, and he wants to offer you a job. Offer me a job? What is it? She said, well, I'll just hand it to you, read it, and tell me what you think. So this job description was like 90, it was for the community engagement program manager job that I have now. He said, maybe she might like to do that, until something opens up at the schools, or, at that time, no one really knew, but she'd been talking to him about me, I guess, for years, and she said that, I didn't have a job waiting for me at the end of the summer to start the next year. Because in my world, the year still starts in August and September in my mind. So I went home and read it, and 90% of that job description, transferable skill sets, no problem. The other 10% was being a farm manager, which up until now, I had never even grown a tomato on my patio. So I said, I love this idea. I would love to have this job. It seems amazing. And I would love to do it. However, I have to be honest with you, I have no idea how to be a farm manager. And he said, well, we have these 10 acres out at what's Salt Catcher Farm now. And we are just trying to get started with, and these are what the pictures are on the slide. These are the gardens that they were starting. So they were beginning to experiment with different kinds of wood and different kinds of raised beds, because that property actually used to be a junkyard. So even though they had the soil tested and everything else, no one locally was going to buy anything that grew out of the ground there. And so just because of optics. And so that summer and that fall, that was my focus. I learned what I was taught to do at Salt Catcher, that Salt Catcher on the left, that collage of slides. And then on the right is, then I'd go teach it. So I learned it, then I taught it. And so then this is us at the high school in Bamberg on the right-hand side collage. We're replacing some old beds that used to be there. And I'm learning as much from the kids as anything else. I'm basically providing beds and learning a lot from them. And then we did Yum Yuck test at Richard Carroll and got some beds installed there. And so I started to realize, okay, I can give some focus to my opportunity here, because the other thing that happened, no sooner did I get that job than the principal at Richard Carroll asked me to be the community member on their school children's wellness team. And so I said, sure. So that's where I found out about the school wellness checklist, which was great because I definitely knew school cultures, right? I felt very comfortable in schools. I knew how to do that. And so I said, sure, that would be great. I saw an opportunity to take a lot of what I knew from teaching in schools and apply it to community engagement, with schools being the first part of it. Now, the Bamberg County Health Coalition at that time was the other part of my job. And at the Bamberg County Health Coalition, they were transferring, they had gotten started, and they did a search for a community engagement. That was the role that I ended up taking. And then I had a lot to learn because I wasn't from here, and I don't speak medical fluently. And so I leaned a lot on the people who were in the community who knew a lot about the health side of things as I was beginning to learn what I needed to know. And so I had the Bamberg County Health Coalition was a huge part of the conversations and the drive and the muscle with Southeastern behind what we were able to do in schools, because the coalition is at that time is under the 501c3 of Southeastern Housing and Community Development. So all of that was tied together. So now I've gotten my job. I live here. I'm teaching what I learn and being very open about it, not pretending like I know anything I don't know. And now we're working with the schools with the school raised beds. So at Southeastern, they also have a lumber to livelihood program where it's an opportunity for people to learn a new skill set and get out into the world, maybe doing something with lumber or sawmills or things that have to do with turning a trunk of wood, a tree trunk into different things of wood. So that's one of the neat things that happened at Saltcatcher. So these beds were built from trees that were brought by a lumber company to Saltcatcher, and then not me, I didn't run the sawmill, but they made them into these raised bed boxes that the coalition had funding to help us place into different schools. So that's how that bridge was crossed. Next slide, please. Now, this is Saltcatcher Youth, FoodShare Bamberg, and the MUSC School Wellness Checklist. So now I have the opportunity to be with students again, and the coalition voted for us to focus on two things. We had Blueprint for Health money from SCORE, and the leadership committee chose a youth group and to become a FoodShare hub. And so also at the same time, COVID hit. So what we would have done as a coalition, I ended up getting it up and running with the help of Saltcatcher people, the city, definitely, and Alan and Trevor. Trevor was back at the house for taking classes online during COVID. And so, but we were able to still be a group that was able to go out into the community and with the Saltcatcher youth. So we went ahead and formed the group. But originally we were going to go into all the schools and we were going to say, because I had been part of the Gulf Stream in Savannah, they make the Gulf Stream jets, and I was part of the group that launched that program. It's been 15, 16 years now that they've had the program. But what they did was we went into schools and we recruited students to teach them some leadership skills. The reason why Gulfstream partnered with the school district in Savannah in Chatham County was because they really were lacking appropriate applicants to do the jobs that needed to be filled at Gulfstream. So we would go into the schools and the children would apply, and we'd have this big, event where we would, talk to the kids about what they could do and the leadership possibilities. If they brought in, they would apply. And so that's what we thought we were going to do for Saltcatcher Youth. We were all prepared for that, but then COVID hit. So instead, I needed to ask the coalition for ideas of people who might be students who were in middle school age that might be able to do it. And then I also, about half of these kids are kids that I had taught art to at Richard Carroll. So I was able to access the friendships that I'd made with certain, just, how it is with kids and stuff. So some of the kids and I still kind of knew each other outside of the summer. And so I thought, well, I can try and see if they'd like to be part of Saltcatcher Youth. And sure enough, they did. So that's where now all those years at Richard Carroll really helped me, because I had a group of people I could ask, would you like to come join this? They still had to apply and go through all the processes because that's part of what we're trying to teach them. But that is another thread that comes through with this. So now here we are at schools. The Saltcatcher Youth and I took care of the middle school in Bamberg and the Richard Carroll in Bamberg, the high school in Bamberg, and then the middle and elementary school in Denmark. So through the coalition, we had placed beds in that many schools. And it was very exciting because we're on campus. So Denise Miller had now moved to be a principal at the middle school in Bamberg. And she said, absolutely, we would love to have raised beds here. And the science teachers there were working on GAP. They got their GAP certification. They started having food from the garden served at on a cart, not on the line at the cafeteria, but they really had gotten things immersed. But while we were in COVID, we were getting these produce going, and we would find out from her where she thought the produce should go. And so, but it was still going to students in need in that moment. So for that summer, or for that, during that time, we took care of those beds because we could. So the salt catcher youth would come and we go around to all the beds and maintain them. But they're at school properties, and the produce is going to the students and to the whoever the principals recommended, even though the kids are at home at this point doing school. So we're doing this after school. And then we had some other things that the students did that were related to community. So we're visiting we're with Ricky Sapp when he came. So we're learning about volunteering, which is important. And I always love the chance to give students or young people an opportunity to volunteer that feels familiar, so that volunteering in the future doesn't maybe seem quite as foreign. And we did a lot of things with FoodShare. The big picture with everyone was our very first distribution, which was 500 boxes of fresh produce going to Richard Carroll. That was money that was given for boxes for there, and we did that. It was incredible. And then we had as we were getting FoodShare started, the students and I would deliver to the partner sites. We would all get in the van and deliver the boxes. And then the picture with the trailer shows them. We're out at one of our properties, one of the housing properties, and we're delivering boxes there to our residents. And then there's a picture of them just helping with FoodShare. So now these students, half of whom I had at Richard Carroll, I'm able to work with them in the community through Salt Catcher Youth, through working with FoodShare. And so then we that August, when Stacy asked me to be the August of 2018, when Stacy asked me to be on the school wellness checklist team, I said sure. And a lot of what you see in these pictures are opportunities that also relate back to the school wellness checklist, because I was able to use I was really, for someone who was in a new job, in a new area, the school wellness checklist and the children's wellness program was an absolute gate that I could walk through and a template I could work from to define things that I could do in the community that gave it some structure that I was familiar with. All right, next slide, please. All right, so this is FoodShare grants and student volunteers. Now, this is interesting because now we have the students from Richard Carroll. Now we're back at school, and we have the Salt Catcher Youth. We have all of these students. We have students that are volunteering at FoodShare again now, and that's students from the schools. When someone needs hours for their beta club, or when the special needs group wants to come and give their students a chance to have a safe place to try doing some things out in the community. We are a place for that. We're a place for that because we have a great relationship with the schools, but also we do it because it's part of just the overall mission of Southeastern to give those kinds of opportunities. Sorry. And so during that time with the schools, we were able to give students the opportunity for us to deliver to them, but also while they're on campus, we gave them the opportunity to learn about volunteering on campus. So the students were involved in all of these distributions that you see, and there are students at FoodShare helping us to break down boxes, to pack boxes, to do all kinds of things. And now I'm also becoming even more familiar with the community and the schools. And now FoodShare is growing in a way that every time I get an opportunity, if someone says, we would like to do something with FoodShare, what would you recommend? The need that I see and we all know exists for fresh fruit and vegetables to students, we're directing it towards that. And so at this now, Denise is at the middle school, and Jordan Smith, who was a principal there during when we did it after Stacy left, he had become then a principal at the high school. And in the meantime, we've started working with the school after school garden programming in the Denmark schools. So now we're in the schools on multiple levels. It all has to do with fresh fruit and vegetables. It's FoodShare, it's the garden beds, it's the garden clubs. And as in my job with community engagement, I'm able to do all these things that I just love to do. It's just a blessing that I get to do this. But and now I actually sit on all of the all of the Bamberg County school wellness checklist teams. But I don't show any preference because that is a real competition that I would not want to interfere with. But each school has its own place where we can be building up. And so the checklist is a really neat way to direct some of that. So we have these big distributions that are a lot about that is conversations well, I would need to say that you really never know when you are auditioning for an opportunity. So these moments are also, or these opportunities are also built out of years of being in front of the community, doing lots of different things. Even so that even at the first year of FoodShare and of being in the coalition, people felt comfortable with me. I'd earned their trust. The trust builds relationships, builds trust, builds relationships. That always remains true. And so when these big distributions came along, I had earned the trust of the community through things that I had done, but I'd also earned the trust of the community that wanted to ask FoodShare to do very big things through making sure that as we grew, I made sure we could actually do something that we said we would do. So we earned the logistics trust of the community as well. And that's how we ended up with big grants like No Kid Hungry and United Way doing, 6 high schools in a day. That's an example of one of the ways that we've gotten food into schools. So United Way has twice asked FoodShare Bamberg to deliver deliver to 6 high schools in the area. And the idea is that the students there get the opportunity to volunteer and help out the community by doing community service. When the boxes are delivered, then that's what you see on the left, on the bottom. Some of those are the boxes that are from that. The students, we pack and bring the boxes to the schools, and then the students all get one of the boxes. And so the picture with the boxes sitting there on the bottom right of the left-hand collage is an example of the kids getting ready to stage and pass out boxes. So it's been really exciting to be able to do this because there are opportunities for the students to experience volunteering as they distribute the boxes. So we're really happy about that piece of it, working with the schools. So we're all of these pictures on the left, we're in schools. These are different distributions. Next slide, please. All right, our current programs and the future is full of possibility, and that is the truth. So on this slide, I have pictures of 3 things that are sort of a really exciting current and future stories. So on the top left, that is Bamberg Family Practice, and they are now a Veggies RX. They do Veggies RX is like you get funding for it. In this case, it's coming through FoodShare South Carolina, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and the Bamberg Family Practice. The doctors there see someone who have diabetes or are pre-diabetic, and they are prescribing for them FoodShare boxes, FoodShare fresh produce boxes as a prescription to help them feel better. So Veggies RX is a phenomenal program. They sign up their patients, And then I get a list of the number of boxes that they need. And so then we pack them at FoodShare, and then we deliver some to the doctor's office, but most of them get picked up. And then we also have another program, Veggies RX program, that we work with the Clemson Rural Health, the Clemson Clinic in Orangeburg. They also do Veggies RX. So we do a lot of Veggies RX boxes now, which is incredible. The reason why this is so cool, I mean, it's cool no matter what, but the reason why it relates to schools and getting fresh fruit and vegetables to students is that another person there, another doctor there named Bretta Kittrell, she is now doing telehealth. And her first telehealth spot is at Richard Carroll. And so where I had been doing the art, where we started the beds, where we've done a lot of things. So now we have telehealth, Veggies RX, and an opportunity in a school. So I talked to everyone involved and I said, I don't know how this works exactly, but if you have pre-diabetic students, then we already deliver to the schools, but we could deliver their veggies specifically. If we knew who they were, we could deliver their Veggies RX boxes to the school to help to get them to their house. And so that is pretty exciting, because that's one example of where years of doing a lot of different things in schools all came together. And so we are just at the beginning of that, but we've been doing Veggies RX, but now the telehealth and the opportunity to offer it to the students, because FoodShare will deliver it to the school for the student to be able to take home, is incredible. We're really excited about that. Additionally, working with Bretta through the FoodShare stuff, they decided that they wanted to, and because they're working with, trying to help everyone be healthier, but specifically a lot with children. And so they asked if FoodShare would partner with them, which we did, to help put fresh produce on the dinner plates at the dance that they were having a few weeks ago, the Mardi Gras dance at the school. So as it turns out, one of the coolest, getting fresh fruit and vegetables to students is incredible. So at a dance, they had 4 different kinds of fresh fruit on their dinner plate at the school at the sit-down dinner that they had before the dance with whoever was there. It was sort of a Valentine's / Mardi Gras event. And so 277 dinners had fresh fruit and vegetables on them. And that is incredible. And that's just going to grow, because now that we've done it, people will trust we can do it again, and that can go forward. I'm really excited about that. And the bottom left says the Ag and Art Tour. This was last year, May 18th. The world of getting produce to students at Denmark has been incredible. That's the school garden there, their greenhouse. And last year, the students helped seed to sale some plants and flowers for the Ag and Art Tour. And that's pretty exciting, because some of those students, now that I've been since 2018 working with students in Denmark, and with the schools, and they are partner sites for FoodShare, and there's a lot that goes on with the schools that gets fresh fruit and vegetables in the students' hands, including through the school gardens themselves. And so we have the garden possibilities here. So it was incredible. It did rain, but we ended up it all worked out in the end. It did rain that day, but the students had the experience of seed to sale, and also the kids, when we go down to the garden, we snack on fresh fruit right off of the vine. We're working towards even more there. And at Bamberg Earhart in Bamberg, the 3 pictures on the right are students with the culinary arts program. So we found sponsors. Well, a sponsor asked the young farmers and ranchers had donated money to FoodShare and asked me to decide what would work. And I thought, I've always wanted to be able to get fresh boxes to the culinary arts program in Bamberg. So maybe this would be great. So I talked to Kathy Hunt, who is the culinary arts teacher there, talked to Jordan Smith, who's the principal there, And again, a, a, what do you think? Should we do it? Yes, it happens that fast. The relationships have been built, the trust has been built. And so now we are able to donate, well, not FoodShare packs them, but the boxes come from donated money, sponsorship money, and they get the boxes at every 2 weeks at the high school for the culinary arts, and they do different tastings. They do tastings for the students with the FoodShare boxes. They cut it up and make tastings for the students, and this is some examples of the kids coming through in the at the school and getting a chance to experience it. So these are just multiple ways that I ended up doing a lot of fruit and vegetable opportunities in schools. When I came to the party without really any experience except my relationships with schools. So next slide, please. Now, this I wanted to include because this is the toolkit part. So from a school's point of view, they want to recruit community members to help them with their MUSC Boeing Center for Children's Wellness School Wellness Checklist Volunteer Engagement Guide. So if they could have a wish list of what volunteers they could have, then this would be it. So this is not the checklist itself. This is the sheet that the schools have to try to help in committees to try to engage the community into wanting to do things with them at the schools through the school wellness checklist. Now, the reason why I told all of those stories leading up to now is because all of those stories were driven on some level or another from the wellness checklist, because I saw ways for the schools to get more points. They're so competitive. And then it was a way to also bring different community members in. The coalition was able to participate in the schools in ways we wouldn't otherwise be able to. And so to me, the opportunity to go into the schools with the school wellness checklist is a golden ticket. Now, I happen to already have relationships with the schools because of what I'd already done, but it's whatever you feel passionate about. I would recommend, in my case, I love to teach art to kids. So I really, really, really wanted to do it. My kids love that too. And we had been volunteering for years. So that's what we did for 4 summers before we moved here. Because I loved it so much, they could learn and trust who I really am. So that led to all these other pieces. My advice though is not meant to be cold, but just like strategic. So if you strategically just want to find a way to get into schools to get fresh fruit and vegetables in, there are a lot of opportunities through this, the children's wellness, the checklist. But this is an opportunity for you to see what the schools wish people would. In a perfect world, someone would come up and say, well, I would love to volunteer to support a student-led wellness committee, right? I mean, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great if someone came from the community to the school and said, I'd love to connect the school with healthcare organizations to provide an on-site health screening for staff. I know, looking at the information that came in from the beginning, that we have a lot of people who would, the staff wellness piece would make a lot of sense. It would be fantastic for it to have the opportunity. And the school, the way it works for everybody is that you're looking for an opportunity to make relationships at the school. The school is looking for ways to make relationships with the community. And there's also a cash bonus for whoever wins this contest. So the carrot is the prize money. And it's fun, and the community gets involved in it. They get attached to the school, they get attached to the competition, and they want to win. And so and that's not a bad thing. It's a good motivator under the circumstances. And so in the case of this, whatever it is that you are doing at work or that you do in your free time that would make it the right way to get into the schools, they have this wish list basically that they have that's getting started. And the nutrition piece, what if you could assist the school with starting or maintaining a garden project, right? These are things that you can see which ones jumped right out for me. Help implement quarterly fresh fruit and vegetable tastings for students. That's great. That's a great way to get fresh fruit and vegetables into the schools. Connect school with local chefs, farmers, registered dietitians, nutritionists. I'm sure a lot of these people are on this call. And if you're looking for ways to get fresh fruit and vegetables into the schools, call the school. Call the school you love the most. Call the school that you know needs it the most. Call the school you have a relationship with. And say, I'm learning about this school wellness checklist, and I'd like to be involved. And that is a way to get fresh fruit and vegetables to students wherever you are. The physical activity piece, let's say you're more into that. Assist the school with organizing walk, bike, and roll to school day events. So let's say you're more into the physical side, but still your job maybe requires that you need to be getting more fruit and vegetables in there. Maybe you're volunteering in a different way that could help you build a relationship with the school, not just job based. And the emotional wellness piece, help organize or volunteer a mentoring program that supports the social emotional wellness of students. I'm sure so many people on this call do this daily. And it would be another way to, along with that, you bring some bananas, always with the permission of the principal, but because bananas are my recommendation because most people don't have a problem with bananas. But that's a way you come there to do one thing, but you brought a case of bananas, right? And so, or you brought bananas are easy. You don't have to peel them. You do, but you can throw them peels away. And so it's just imagine doing any of these things and bringing a case of bananas to start with. Let's just say that's how you didn't come there to talk about fruit and vegetables. You came there to, I don't know, work with the school staff to find resources to purchase fitness equipment dedicated for staff workout space. You arrive with a case of bananas, they're going to like it. And then they'll share it with the kids. I'm not saying that it would just be for the people there. Often there's always someone, the school nurse always knows who needs it. And so one of the things that FoodShare Bamberg does is when we have leftover produce, it goes to different places, but one case always it's on a rotation, but one case at least goes to a school, and the school nurses know what I do not, which is which students really need it. And they can quietly get a nice bag of fruit and vegetables ready to eat, no cook, to the students that could really need it. So that's a quiet way that we do it, that we don't advertise, but that's one of the things that we do. So that is what I have to offer. And thank you so much for joining. And I'm happy to take any questions. Next slide. I want to say thank you to Erica and JC. So grateful for you. And I am ready to answer any questions that you have or anything. Wide open.
Thank you, Lara. Amazing work that you've been a part of, that you've led. Really huge impact. And as most of us on the call know, that trust is key. So thank you for providing inspiration for how to build that. So 2 questions that have popped up in the chat. One about providing the resources, and I'm assuming that we'll be able to provide your slides and the recording and any links with our follow-up email. And then another question on your email contact information.
Okay.
Do you mind?
It would be the scrhalbus@gmail.
Okay, perfect. So we will provide that as well.
Yes, I'm more than happy to I'm so grateful for the opportunity I've been given. I definitely want to share what I've learned. And for someone like me who really was not in this space, I know what it means to have to break in to a world you're not part of. In the case of me, I was a part of the school world, not a part of the other side. But in the case of many people on the call, you may be probably amazing at your job, but just don't really have a way that what's unfamiliar is the school. And so, or what seems like a barrier would be the school. And so all of the ideas that are on that sheet are a great way to open a conversation with a school. And like I said, I recommend a case of bananas going with you.
Laura, I am just curious, and it's been something I've been thinking about. So, your previous life, you mentioned you were working in Savannah, correct?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so then you moved to little old rural Bamberg. Will you tell us, because most of South Carolina is rural, and a lot of people think that just because they're in a rural community, they're automatically at a disadvantage when it comes to doing work like this. Can you share the benefits of working in a rural community compared to you working in a more urban area like Savannah?
Absolutely. I can, especially because I did a lot of, well, that was the reason for getting involved at the school. We did a lot of volunteer work and we did a lot of things in Savannah, not related to art camps and things like that as well. And because I grew up in Virginia in a small town, and my parents always were very proactive and help and volunteering and doing things for the community. So I grew up knowing that. So I was familiar with that. And then in Savannah, of course, the opportunities are everywhere to volunteer and do things. When I came to Bamberg and did not end up becoming an art teacher, I mean, I still do it every summer, but I can see why I ended up doing this, because I was able to take what I had learned all my life and apply it with the opportunity that was given through the community engagement, and the way that I was able to move forward and not feel totally lost in a rural area is because I had the contacts that I had made, but also the coalition was there, and the and the job description meant that I needed to go out and, engage with the community. But in a rural context, there's a slower role. So you have more opportunities to show up at the Veterans Day Memorial, and shake a hand. I don't know. I'm not really a handshaker, but I mean, I don't just walk. I'm not like a cold call person, but if you just know one person, then you start talking to them, then you start talking to the next person. And then the kind of work that we're doing becomes the most relevant part of the conversation. I've noticed so many times, because you don't open with, how do you feel about food insecurity? Right? You don't say, isn't it a shame the kids aren't getting enough fruit and vegetables? I mean, that would be insane to open a conversation that way. But a lot of times it just lends itself to that, because like you're right, in South Carolina as a whole, there is a need and people are concerned about it. And sometimes when they find out what your job is, they might open up a little bit more about it. And then, in my case, I always say, would you like to come volunteer at FoodShare? Because I know, but whatever that would mean for for you or your company, right? Like, so there doesn't have to be, it's, if someone was saying to me, I have two choices, a rural job or a more urban job. I guess it depends on really who you are. But if you end up with an urban job and you didn't want that, I could advise you on that. But if you ended up with a rural job where you came from an urban environment, I definitely can speak to that, because there is so much work to be done, and it is just less publicized. It's not that it doesn't need to happen, it's just not on the front page. So one of the things that I do is every once in a while, I'll just write an article and send it to the Bamberg County Leader. Now it's a local newspaper, but it's always uplifting, like, hey, this is what happened today in the community, including all the people that were involved, right? And so, and then you begin to build this family of people who are like, yeah, I really care about that too, in a way that you don't always. I'm not saying it never happens in urban areas, but your network stays glued together a lot of times in the rural environment and community, because you can build and then trust and build and then trust and build and then trust. And I wouldn't say it's going to be fast, that's for sure. You can make faster. I think it is easier and more the way it is in urban lifestyle to kind of meet someone, make a plan, go do it, right? I mean, I've done that too. Met someone, we both had the same thing online. Let's do it. Let's go do that. In Savannah, that was much more, but I would, here I know that that's different, but the need So strong, so strong. And if you've gotten a job in a rural area and you're not that excited about it, give me a call. I'll help you get excited.
I love that, Laura. And something you said, and I'm going to keep thinking about it and saying it myself, is you never know when you're auditioning for an opportunity. I love that you said that. That really, I wrote that one down. I was like, that really stuck to me. So, thank you for mentioning that because that is always true. You never know. Jace, do you have any more questions popped up in the chat?
We do have one more question from Dr. Bowens. Do you think this program could be implemented as an activity component in the summer meal program, maybe on a smaller scale? If so, how would you suggest getting started?
Are we talking about FoodShare? Wait, I can't hear her.
FoodShare or a similar idea.
So I'm always thinking about that. That's a great question. I'm always thinking about how I'll use FoodShare as the example with summer reading. I mean, with the summer programs, the summer lunch programs, right? Is what we're talking about. Um, Interestingly, in Bamberg, the produce vendor that FoodShare has is the same produce vendor at our Piggly Wiggly in the county and Denmark and Bamberg. And I'm not sure about IG. We have in Bamberg County, we have 3 grocery stores, one Piggly Wiggly in Denmark, one Piggly Wiggly in Bamberg, and one IGA in Earhart. The produce vendor, there's Sin brothers, they're 2 boys. It's Jack and Zake. Y'all might know them. A lot. If we're all in the same world, Zach and Jake Sin. They're at the farmers market and they supply the produce for FoodShare, 2 of the grocery stores in town, and the schools. And so I'm always trying to figure out a way to make that part of the summer program the way I do it for in our world. Outside of that is that that we do because it's all confidential information. So what we do is we keep an ongoing angel box list of people who can let us know that they need someone or they know someone who needs a box. And when we have money that's donated just for angel boxes, then when we know someone who's in need, we'll deliver it to them. But the summer program is something that we have helped with in that some of the like the smart box in Allendale. She bought from us boxes and then used it to add to her produce, fresh fruit and vegetables for the kids in the summertime. So that's one way that someone bought boxes from FoodShare and then we delivered to her. And then she actually dismantled the boxes and did them. But however, my new dream and goal is that like for example, the audition piece, like so you really don't know when we are now working with Voorhees and SC State to get a no cook box on their meal plan. So no cook boxes doesn't mean it means no cook, but it doesn't mean no prep. So it's like you could pick up your apple, you could eat your baby carrot, you could, cut up your celery, whatever it is. It's just, a box that you don't have to cook the items in. So now we have the traditional box and the no cook box. And with the no cook box, that opens up the possibilities too for summertime. So if funding could ever be given that every kid that came for their summer meal plan, one of those days when they came, there was funding for them to also get a no cook box. That would be incredible. That would be incredible. And the boxes, if you have SNAP, are only $5. And there's so much in these boxes, it's insane. You can look at FoodShare Bamberg on Facebook and see the insanity of how great these boxes are. And I mean, both boxes, but now with students, it's a whole nother story. So I didn't realize 2 summers ago, Voorhees and SC State brought a bunch of students to us and they said, here we go. We want to volunteer. I thought it was a volunteer time just to get some volunteer hours, but I was auditioning for this, what's happening now, 2 years ago. So at the last the last United Way distribution, they all came back again, but this time there were some button downs and blazers there. So there's some different part of the group, and they started talking about, well, what would that look like? How could we partner with you? How can we do these? Now SC State is a partner site, Voorhees is a partner site, and we're just slow rolling, getting like, I'm all about a slow roll. And when they order no cook boxes, we deliver them. That's how we're doing it now. But in an amazing world, it's an option on a meal plan, right? But with the schools, I feel like that's kind of like, if there's, because we don't have that COVID money anymore. But if we knew how many kids were at all the elementary schools, whatever it might be, I don't know exactly how the distribution works. I know that sometimes they're also trying to deliver them on buses, but I do think that through FoodShare with the no cook box, something will happen, I think.
I love the innovation behind that. So I can tell you're a very creative person. And yes, that skill did transfer very nicely into the work that you're doing now. So, and Laura, I have to say, you are also an amazing storyteller. I think storytelling is one of the most impactful and influential forms of communication, and you have a gift for it. So, which I greatly appreciate, Laura.
Thank you.
So we're going to wrap up now. But yes, we will share Laura's contact information. If it's not in the chat, we will make sure that you get it with follow-up email. So please do reach out to her. She is definitely a wealth of information on how to successfully build those relationships, especially in a rural community, especially when you're connecting communities and schools with each other. So again, Laura, thank you so much for being a part of today's presentation. We really appreciate it. And I know I personally will keep you in my back pocket as a resource. So I'm so thankful that we were able to meet you through this process.
I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
So to wrap up for today, our next webinar is April 16th, and funny enough, it's going to be with the folks who are with the Boeing Center for Children's Wellness. So that school wellness checklist that Laura kept implying to with her webinar. So, but they're going to more specifically talk about their Docs Adopt initiative, which is where they work on school and clinical linkages.
Yeah.
But you will hear the school wellness checklist come up with that one too. So I'm sure Laura's got thumbs up. So she's a huge supporter of this one. So definitely make sure y'all come back next month to hear more about Docs Adopt. And then also our last webinar will be coming up on May 21st, and it will be on how schools and communities can provide access for physical activities. So be sure that you can do it now, register for our last webinar for this school year's webinar series as well. And if you missed our webinar last month, we had Special Olympics South Carolina presenting, and they also shared an upcoming event that they have coming up. It's a free event. It's going to be in Columbia. It's their Summer Educator Workshop. There is the registration information for that if you're interested, and you can scan that QR code to get information on that. So there's that for you. It's going to be on Friday, June 20th, all day at the Cooperative Conference Center in Columbia. And then one more shout out from our partners is the SCAFER 2025 Annual Conference. For those not familiar with SCAFER, this is the South Carolina Alliance for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. And they now have proposals open. So it's now open for you to submit proposals to present at their 2025 SCAFER conference, which, by the way, they are putting on together in conjunction with Special Olympics South Carolina. So that's going to be a great event, networking and learning and collaboration. So with that, again, as always, thank y'all so much for being a part of today's webinar. JC, thank you as always so much for being my amazing co-host and co-facilitator. That may be Sophie that y'all hear in the background growling. She's also excited that we had a great webinar today. And then Laura, just one more big thank you to you. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.